When I first received the telephone call informing me that I have been nominated for the Indiana Athletic Trainers Association's Hall of Fame, I really didn't know what to believe. I was speechless. I was surprised. And I first asked myself, what have I done to be nominated? I haven't done anything special, nothing extraordinary. I just do my job. I've been at Indiana for 30 years, and I come in every day and do the job that I was hired to do, and I do that to the best of my ability. So I was just couldn't figure it out, and still can't. So I'm struggling with this portion of it. Um, I try to hold myself to a high standard in what I do. Try to hold myself to the standards of the National Athletic Trainers Association and to what like IU athletics expects. I would like to take this time to personally thank Tim Drudge for the nomination and all the work he did in trying to acquire the required information. So again, Tim, I just don't know what to say. I'm just totally speechless over it. But again, thank you very much for your efforts. I think instead of discussing what I've done or that kind of thing, I think it's more important that I tell you a little bit about my journey through the 30 years at Indiana University, how I got here more than anything else, because I think that can be attributed to some very wonderful individuals that I call my friends. They've been my colleagues, and I think it's due to their efforts that have helped me be the best professional that I can be. I first started my journey in 1983, and I'm just saying that because that was the first year I was admitted to graduate school at Indiana University. John Schrader was the program director at the time, and he was also served as a head athletic trainer. John introduced me to athletic training. He introduced me to the academic portion and what it would take to get certified, basically, because that was the goal. I think John provided me an opportunity to learn and grow. He possessed a lot of knowledge in the history of the profession, in the history of athletic training in the state of Indiana. More importantly, he wanted me to learn what I needed to know. And oftentimes he really wasn't as concerned with what you already knew, but he wanted you to be concerned with what you didn't know and strive to gain that little bit of extra knowledge. And so through John, I really understood the profession a lot more. Entering as a grad student, I had no idea. I thought it was just about taking care of athletes. You go to practice, you take care of them, they get injured, you do a little bit for them, and you go home. And it's broader than that. And I didn't realize that until I really spent some time with John. And so I really learned what it required to be a professional athletic trainer. That same year, I also had Kip Smith as my clinical instructor. Basically, I served as the GA for football at the time, and actually I was Kip's first GA when he came to Indiana University. And so clinically, I think it was Kip's responsibility and that he took upon himself to teach me and made me learn what the clinic was about, and the clinic was about hard work. You come early and you stay late, and there's a lot of work in between. And again, I had not experienced that at all. And I, the whole year was just enlightening overall as to what it took, the amount of work, the amount of effort, the knowledge required, the reading to stay up with new trends, research, to make sure that what you're doing is the proper thing, and trying to make that all come together. It was a full plate, and it took me some time to get through that as a graduate assistant. But I'm better for it. And at one time, throughout my 30 years, I actually served as the assistant athletic trainer for KIPP as well. So through that process, I felt that I really learned and grew a great deal with him. So between him and John, it was like I was getting the academics, I was getting the clinical, and I was a busy individual, but I enjoyed every moment of it. And I think this is one of the reasons I've been able to be in the profession this long. And one of the reasons I really remained at Indiana University, because I think this was home. This is where I learned the most, and this is where I definitely grew. I also had a friend that I met here in graduate schools as well. His name was Peter Leashes. And Peter was a guy that was a lot closer. We were close because we were classmates for a period of time. And then he was like my supervisor when I was a GA. And then he was a colleague later on after I came back in 89 to become a full staff member at Indiana University. So there's a lot of mixture in there of different roles that Peter had. Peter taught me a lot as well, because we were around each other a lot more. We served as roommates, but classmates, and so we were bouncing things off each other's heads, and I got to ask a whole lot of questions. And one thing I liked about Peter was the explorer. He was smart and inquisitive, persistent, but he liked to explore a lot. And so between him and I, Peter would come up with an idea, and we'd look at it, and he'd involve me, and we'd go out and try different things. And we're talking about things that new techniques that you read about, or new research that you're questioning, or you wanted to learn more about it, or how the body responded, or how student athletes will react, and whether it's modalities, equipment, rehabilitation exercises. We tried a lot of different things, and I think Peter probably brought that part out in me about exploring new things and looking at the literature, and trying to not looking at the literature, but trying to take a critical look at the literature. And I thought that, between those three, Peter, KIPP, and John, they had the greatest influence on me at the beginning. And I think through that initial experience prior to becoming a full staff members, they really allowed me to grow and shape my thoughts on what it really takes to be a good professional. I think it was Peter that told me the little secret of, if you want to become good in the clinic, and especially with rehabs, then you needed to come in early. If you came in early with football, that's where all the rehabs were taking place. If you came in the afternoon only, you weren't going to see a whole lot. So I think that come in early, stay late, also grew from wanting to know more and wanting to learn more. Once I returned to Indiana in 89, I had a lot of questions, because while I was gone, I had a chance to do a lot of reading, looking at research journals, and just try to indulge myself and get as much in as I could. But when I arrived back, I had an opportunity to share an office with Wendy Poppy. And Wendy was our resident physical therapist. So she's a physical therapist, ATC, and so she was probably another individual that helped a whole lot of my growth. And I would say there wasn't a period that went by since I've been here in Indiana that I didn't strive to try to learn something new every single day. And I take pride in that. Um, but Wendy was a person that when things weren't working in physical therapy or rehab for an individual, you could always go to Wendy, and get her perspective on it, because uh, she had a lot to offer. She's a great reader, understood the research, looked at the research, taught the modalities class here as well for years, so she was a great resource to have. And to share an office with her, we would spend every day discussing a topic, and it's probably something new and maybe it was carryover type thing, but she was a great resource and I learned a great deal from her. Uh, a good soap note. Wendy was very, very thorough in her exams and writing soaps. And so again, those are parts of what I did that I took with me and I hold on to those today. These past 5 years, um, it's been a very, very eye-opening experience. And a lot of that is due to my current colleague that I work very closely with, um, Tim Garl. He kind of like covers the opposite sport. I cover right now, currently cover women's basketball, and Tim covers men's basketball. And the thing about Tim, since we're the long timers on staff now, we're the ones that have been around the longest. Tim has been working his sport for over 30 years. And in that, I've realized that Tim has a lot to offer, and he gives me a lot of ideas of what he likes to do with his players, but he has a lot of experiences. He has a lot of international travel experiences where he's been different places, Olympic experiences where he's worked on different committees, and indirectly you get to be a part of that and learn. And when you think that you've heard it all and you've learned about almost as much as you can, someone always comes along that can say that I can teach you more. As I've learned, if I have a question, I can go ask him, and he will have an answer, or he will have a thought, type thing. And so I guess as the journey, you know, as the journey continues, I'm happy that, finally that I've had an opportunity to work with him, because I think he's the last one on the staff that I really hadn't worked with directly. Seen him, like walk through the training facility and stuff like that, but now we've had an actual time to work together, and it's amazing. It's amazing what you can learn if you just stop, talk, and listen. But to keep this short, never even thought I'd be able to talk this long. But I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone that I've come in contact with while I've been in this profession. The physician. Yes, there's a list at the end of the video, but everyone listed on that list has had a part of my growth and my journey, and has taught me something, offered something that I think that I've tried to keep it all with me, and so with that, my journey continues. I'm appreciative of this honor, but I hope to continue to do better. Thank you.